Down goes the company.
That one went bankrupt. Hello, I'm Lillian. Today we're going to work to make life a little less complicated. A lot of adults are scared to talk about scary financial topics, but kids will talk about, well, anything. So I'm going to work to make complex financial topics less complicated to you by teaching, well, a kid. This is Stocks and the Stock Market, simply put. Let's meet today's special guest. Hi, I'm Lillian. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Cameron.
Hi, Cameron. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be an astronaut chef cooker to cook for the aliens.
That is a lot. Do you think that you're gonna need money in order to do this job?
I think I'm going to need a lot of money to do this job.
What do you know about the stock market right now?
Right now that I know about the stock market is that you put your money in it and then your money goes higher and then it goes lower.
One of the components of a stock market is what a stock is. Do you know what a stock is?
Not really. I don't really know what a stock is.
A stock is actually just like a piece of a company. Candy is a good example of a stock because a company has to make that, right? It doesn't come from nowhere. A company has to get together and decide to make candy, and then you buy it. So one of the great things about stocks is that companies that make candy actually let you also buy pieces of the company. And that means that when you go out and buy candy and give them your money, if you are someone who owns a stock or a piece of that candy company, then you get some of the profit that they make when they sell candy. Do you understand how they break a company into lots of tiny pieces? Do you get how that happens?
No, I do not.
So if a company needs money to buy things, one of the things they can do is that computers divide them into a bunch of tiny pieces. They would say, okay, if you give us this much money, you can have this piece of the company. They take the company and they divide it into lots of tiny parts, and then you buy it just like you would buy candy from the grocery store, except instead of getting a piece of candy, you get a certificate that says you own one piece of the candy company. That is a stock, and you become a shareholder. And that means that each tiny piece of this company is a share. So if you decide that you want to just get one stock, you can do that. So if you really like a certain company, like you really like this candy, and you think, hey, I would like a piece of that company, then you could buy just one share of that company. But if you decide, oh, that seems really risky because what if that candy turns out to be really bad in the future and so that company won't be valuable anymore? Or what if a newer and better candy comes out and then no one wants to buy this candy anymore? And so if you buy just one company on the stock market, it can be really risky. But one of the things that you can do is that you can get a mutual fund, an index fund, or an ETF. And those are all kind of the same names for a word for fund. And a fund is where you get a bunch of different pieces of companies. So if you were to get a mutual fund, it would be all the pieces of these companies. So if each of these are individual companies, instead a mutual fund lets you buy one thing, like this jar, but it contains all of the companies in it. And that means that, you know, this yellow company, they actually got invaded by rats and they stopped being valuable. And they went away. But the mutual fund still has value because even if that company doesn't do well, there's a bunch of other companies in it. Bonds are also traded on the stock market, and they're a little different. A company or a government, when they decide they want to expand, they will sell off a bond. And rather than buying a piece of the company, you're just buying a small piece of the money they're trying to raise. So what's great about bonds is that they return a very stable income. So if you have some bonds in your portfolio, usually you will make less money, but that money will be very consistent because usually bonds have a very low interest rate, but they're very stable versus stocks that go up and down, because stocks are like, you know, a company might be doing really well one day and then less well the next day.
And then up the other day, then down low the next day, everything. And then they just go zigzagging, zigzagging, and then they lose control, and then they say, we're canceling our company.
Well, we hope they don't cancel the company, but sometimes they do. Will you tell me what you learned a share in a company is?
A share of a company? A share is when the computer splits the companies up into little tiny small pieces, and then they sell those pieces, and then you can get them.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Cameron. I think you might officially be a grown-up now. Or maybe the rest of us are just kids. Either way, that was Stocks in the Stock Market. Simply put. You might want to try turning your consumerism into an investment. If you find yourself buying, say, 3 of an item from a company, maybe buy a share in that company too. That way, you can at least make a little money off them making money off you.